Good morning, traders. Welcome to the pre-market analysis via YouTube that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. Give you guys a little bit of breakdown of what's going to happen here. Once I'm done this little intro, Beth's going to come on and give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of this evening or that we need to be aware of for today. Should be going through the bigger picture items, ETFs, commodities, big cap names that make sense to be looking at. Once that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to be going through the names that I'm looking at that are gapping up, gapping down. We're going to talk about those gap up, gap downs from a news standpoint, technical standpoint. We'll also go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, the Qs, the IWM. I'll build an action plan for those, and then I'll pass it over to Salt Beach. And we'll come on, go through any of the individual names that he's looking at for today, analyst calls, as well as macro flow that he saw overnight. And then we'll be ready to do a little recap of those individual names that I talked about, as well as the SPY and the FANG, and then we'll be ready to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, guys, and I will talk to you in a little bit. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
I am indeed, sir. Oh my, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Earnings season this week, next week. Fantastic. And this is why we hedge into earnings, for that what if moments when you have aberrations beyond the statistical move. Wow. Okay. Well, it's not often that I can honestly say that I'm just gobsmacked over what happened last night. Okay. It really makes things a lot more complicated. There's no question about that right now. I don't know what to do. I do. I'm talking with Twins because he and I are of like-mindedness in terms of longer term viewpoints. And it's like, you can't right now invest in some of these companies, even though you want to, but you can't. And it's like, okay, what happened overnight? And I said this to Twins, I said, wouldn't it be funny if Meta knocks the ball off the poke? I don't know if it's possible, but he rallies amongst, and now is the strongest of short term. And all I know is that my small cap narrative is working. I don't know why, but it is. And then we go from there. I would have got business climate better than expected out of Germany, right? The federal budget came out of Australia. Yeah. BOE pill speech, so he's still staying there. They have a new prime minister. This dude is pretty sharp. I think I like him as a pick. These are serious times. Are you listening, Powell? These are serious times. You need serious people involved in this. Okay. Just saying. I still think it's all about Janet Yellen putting a ton of pressure. Okay. She's the one who's getting it from foreign leaders, foreign treasury heads as well. And basically she sees all these friggin' ass swap lines going through. What's going on here with the financial markets? And, we just see. I don't know. All right, what do we got? So this is what we got. Mortgage demand at slowest pace since 1997 as long-term rates across 7%. I will once again say the same thing as Robert Miner said, boo-hoo. The statistical average is above this. The gift was, if you didn't buy a 30-year mortgage at 3%, you're basically hang your head in shame. And this is what I said all along. You gotta hang your head in shame. Here you go, yada, yada, yada. Consumer confidence, this is yesterday. What the hell am I doing? Sorry. Here we go. EA loans, mortgage back, 7.16, whatever. Like I say, I told you my father got a 6% 30-year, and he thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Okay. We'll see what plays out here. So we had a build on the API, okay, which was way higher. Right. So bad news, good. Look, I think there's a lot of things rattling in this market right now. Obviously, Putin with his dirty bomb scenario, right? And then we got China with the warlords, Okay. I read an interesting article because this is actually probably quite true. Gold will skyrocket if China invades Taiwan. Okay. I'm just saying, there's a place for it in the world, my friends. And then we have down here, we do have the 5-year. This is going to be interesting too. Okay. And then we have, well, who cares? They lie anyway, so whatever. Boeing, okay, so Boeing, bad news, good action, I guess, but they've got a ton of orders coming in. Bristol Myers, I actually, it's interesting because I don't like to play earnings. Okay, and I basically exited, it's been a great run for me with Bristol Myers, so I exited that. But Kraft Heinz, so we're seeing which companies can make money and are making money. Okay, and guiding higher, EDP. Okay, Bungie, right? Hog did well. A lot of these are doing well. There's a sea of green here, friends. Okay, except for something like Veritas, something like that. But Hog, that's a favorite to play after earnings. Old Dominion. All right, once again, we are still about 37.57. So everybody just kind of, it's the sky is not falling. It's not for individual names, but this is what it looks like. SPXI, let's talk timing cycles. Okay, so we have a cluster here of price, okay, 27.28, okay, coming in. So that's small and Friday. And then we have a cluster of time coming in here today and tomorrow in the SPX. We're into resistance. The problem with this, with the timing of 26, 28, you don't know whether it's going to be a low and then start to rally, whether it's going to be left or right translated. You just don't know. Okay, you can't assume anything. 666 sales versus mortgage purchases. Yeah, COVID lows. Analyst estimates for 2023. Earnings per share. That's coming down at least, right? Upgrades, downgrades. All right, now this is important. Not so much for my generation, okay, but for the people, the late baby boomers, and as well as that next generation, right? The solvency of the retirement accounts. Look at the drawdown here, guys. This is a big, this is probably going to be worse than the financial crisis of 2008. All right, what do we got? Rishi Sunak? The guy is qualified. Come on, all right? All right. This pisses me off. Russian oligarchs obscure the wealth through secretive Isle of Man network. Whatever. Regulators went, why not? Everybody, well, I don't know if they do it in Canada, but I think everybody else does it, right? All right. Words have consequences. That's the Reader's Digest narrative of this thing. It's sad because he kind of went in a downward spiral after his mother died. So anyways, too much, right? TMI. Diamond trading firm crafts gemstones into a commodity. That's pretty interesting, right? Surging rents push more Americans to live with roommates or parents. This is the Canadian way, and we're joining our Canadian friends in this way, right? What a waste of a talent. That's all I have to say. All right, so this is fascinating because this school district, this is the inner city of Los Angeles. Okay, they actually did not get the same brain drain during the pandemic. Their scores actually went up. So it just goes to show, if you know what you're doing, you can be successful. All right, let's do it. Let's take a peek here what peeps are expecting for December, right? All right, so this is 75, this is 50, and this is 25. Okay, how is it that so many got this so wrong? Now, a lot of this is paper replacement, I know, but still. But like I said, wouldn't it be funny if they knocked the ball off the cover? I don't know. Believe it or not, the only you look, I mentioned it in the live chat that I bought a ton of FNGD when it broke above the 55 EMA, and I got filled on that at 63, 45, 50. Okay. I mean, this was a no-brainer on that one. All right, so now let's look at Google. Oops. Okay. There we go. Okay, once again, but not to the extreme. Now look at this. In the money puts. Wow. That's all I have to say is God bless. Anyways, what's being hyped? Microsoft is a 6. We haven't seen 6s in a while. Chipotle, this is a fun one. And Phase, Google, Lulu, MEDP, MedPace, Tesla. Boy. Anyways, let's see what happened yesterday. Friedman Industries. Yeah, but I mean, this is Chief Risk Officer, TCBI. This is a bank shares. Okay. So I have to share with you, because of with the interest rates rallying, right? You know me, I don't mess around with some of the stuff. I just basically say, okay, whatever. So I bought some FAS, FAS, which is 3 times financial. I bought it a couple of days ago. That's how I mean, I just can't be bothered with some of this stuff, right? Let's see what the sales look like. Okay. So options, a lot of this is tied to options, Salesforce, NTRA, Natera, and KNBE. Let's see what our analysts are up to. Downgrades. Baker Hughes, but a price raise. Roger. These are 79% dude. CCK. Downgrade, but a price raise. IV Invesco. This is interesting from Credit Suisse. William Katz, 70%. And then we have Washington Trust Bank Corp. This is why I don't understand the following of these analysts. Some of these only at 27% success rate. BTIG, 93%, HLX, Helix. Discover Financial, Humana, Halliburton got a price. I like Halliburton. I really do. I mean, I really do like Halliburton. Of it all, I mean, I think Halliburton to me feels safer as a catch-up trade, but I mean, I'm already up 20% on it. So it's kind of hard. Tonight I'll share my my P&L with my students, just so they can see what's going on, what I'm thinking about. Right? Smart money, dumb money. So I mean, it's like, okay. Let's see what our heat map is. I mean, Netherlands. I mean, it's like, you know the drill here. We're really getting extended on the long side. The fun thing about this, friends, is it doesn't take much of a pullback for this. But if you notice, what's, you know, look at this: Portugal, Ireland, France. I mean, it's Europe, right? And then you got all the X's, okay? So plenty of you who followed me yesterday on my hedges, we're going to sell half of the Microsoft. Okay. Butterfly, put butterfly for next week. I got XLK puts on, XLY puts on, XLC puts on. So what I'll do with those is I'll probably, depending on what they're up, I might write against it, but I don't know. Anyways, it's just, what do we got? A sea of red, right? Basic materials, right? Semis, money coming out, financials, real estate, home builders. Let's see if the home builders can actually get it right. I mean, they say they can, and why wouldn't we believe them, right? Just saying, why wouldn't we believe them? All right, China. Let's talk about China just for a short bit, for those of you following me on this trade. Okay, Bobalicious is a nothing, but Baidu's been working, right? I got this CQQQ that's been working. All right, and the one that's really worked the best is this K-Web, up over 10% on it. I even have some yen, and that's up nicely too. So today would be the third day. I probably will exit a lot of these or have stops and assess at the end of the day. That's my story on that one. Countries, Europe was still good. Now let's take a look at this. All right, so this should not be a surprise to anyone, right? Because it's a 10-day, right? And we were, sloppy choppy, slapping it on. Okay, what's interesting is though, the breadth overseas is still, obviously Hang Seng is going to be, but this is really interesting. I'm not sure, watch India. If it breaks the 55 on the daily, I'll probably add to my story on it in my swing portfolio IRA. Okay. All right, so let's see what's going on here. No, there's no buying. Yeah. I mean, none of this is updated right now. We have to see what the sentiment stuff looks like. Not updating. All right, we're going to go to the all right, so the COT is out, right? There we go. All right, so what do we got going on here? So, all right, leverage money. This is as of yesterday's close on the future side. So leverage money is really, really still short. I look, this is a 10-year. I still can't, I don't know what to tell you. And yes, the 3-month and the 10-year finally inverted because of the move on the 10-year. That's crazy ass shit. I can't tell you what's going on with that. But if you look at the 10-20, 10-30, right, it's steepening. So maybe the Fed basically wants, this is some sort of, whether it's the Fed, I don't know what to tell you, but there's something going on here. Okay, and it's the 10 farther way out with the yield curve. Maybe they're more concerned about that, I guess. But leverage funds, they drew down, look, you can see right here, right? And then other reportables, okay, they basically drew down their longs as well. And then Uzis and Measies increased our shorts. So we're kind of like 50-50. Asset managers are still good. But let's take a look here at other stuff. Okay, close. All right, so let's take a look here at the Russell. Okay. All right. This is really fascinating. So this is the setup I think that will allow us to continue short term. And then there's going to be a rotation. And look, Twins will report from his perspective what he's seeing coming in, right? Okay. So asset managers, this is the Russell, right? A short. This is really unusual, right? The short, 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 and we're kind of long. And you know that I'm in TNA, right? And it's green, okay? It's almost up 3/4%, okay? So what I think is going to happen is going to be a bit of an unwind on that, okay? As now, let's take a look at the NASDAQ, okay? And you can see here, everybody's short too, other reportables, right? But it's kind of like 50-50, right? I want to see what happens here, where this money rotates to. Now, one more I want to look at is, I want to look at silver, okay? So this should be pretty obvious. There was a huge short build last week in silver. This is managed money, okay? I think they're wrong, and you know that. And I'm going to add to my silver position, okay? I just, you know what I think about that. Now let's take a look at natty gas, okay? All right, let's see what happened here. Now this is what's really fascinating. So managed money is short natty gas, obviously, okay? They've been shorting it. I don't think there's been enough of a rally yet for them to cover. They pulled down a little bit of this, right? Other reportable is also short, right? Right, but this is, this is managed money. Okay, this isn't producers, right? So don't forget when you're looking at hedges, okay? So for the better part of this year, a lot of the, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these manufacturers, merchants, basically, came out and said, let's hedge some of this at the higher prices, okay? So don't forget, they normally, any commodity they have, manufacturers, producers tend to hedge. The question is, how much do they hedge? So the companies that are really kicking ass in terms of the refiners, right? Natty gas and crude, is those that did not hedge, were lightly hedged. And I wouldn't be surprised if they aggressively started to hedge when it was at 100, okay? What do we got? Bonds. Now you can see here, the yield curve is inverting. This is crazy stuff. Rates are up overseas across the board, except where, right? Let's take a look at Fed funds, right? Where we are, where we should be. And this is recessions. Okay, once again, this is what I grew up with, okay? I'm a child of the 50s, 60s, okay? This is what I grew up with. And this is where my father taught me on his knee. The 30-year, I have a 3.5% mortgage. I didn't roll it down. I could have rolled it down, but it was just, I didn't want to go through it with it. So when rates are high, so I add more to the, when rates are high, I don't add to the principal. When rates are low, I add to the principal. So that's how I do that. But I mean, 5 years, still fine. Here's the 210, still in the range. Bear flagging though. Here's the 2.5, bear flagging, you know the drill. Here's the 10-year, bouncing hard off of this fib, double bottom here. Let's see, where's my, you know the drill, I gotta load my, all right, and officially, yes, on my charts, we have officially, well, we were, yes, we'll be inverted, right? Because this isn't the futures, so we'll be inverted. But look at the inversion here, like I say, if we start to see this down here, the statistical probability then becomes 100% of a recession when you have all the pieces together lined up. Now, the shallower this is, I would think the shallower the recession. But if these idiots at the Fed continue to sell off their balance sheet and hike rates, okay, then it's going to be a steeper. And this is, like I say, everyone knows why Jeremy Siegel is apoplectic about the Fed, because they're double tightening, right? But what are they going to do? Look at their balance sheet. I mean, this has been going on since the financial crisis of 2008. This just didn't start overnight, right? 10-year. All right, German rates. Fine, well, they can go higher, they will go higher, right? Do I have my gilts up here? Let's bring up my gilts. Let's do some of these spreads. So here's the, this is what's really fascinating. So this is the 5-2. Look at that, snapback. You look, I can say this. You don't see this unless there's intervention, okay? I mean, this is intervention 101. This is what it looks like. This is the Exchequer doing their thing, the Bank of England doing their thing, okay? And here's just another fun one, right? Now this is really, but this is what's so fascinating about this, friends. You know, going back in time, this basically held the financial crisis low, as opposed to other stuff is going back, 40 years almost, right? I just think it's fascinating. Okay. And let's look at the German as well. I'm going to have to put in. Here's their 5-2. Okay. They didn't even get down to the financial crisis here. So obviously what's going on, UK is special. Okay. And Germany has been able to kind of stabilize stuff as they always do. And then we have here the 10-5. Okay. Once again, this didn't even take out the low of, the COVID low. So China. Yields are coming down. Right. So what the hell is going on with crypto? Ethereum's going bonkers. Bitcoin. I guess we should look at our Ethereum Bitcoin spread, right? Let's take a peek. All right, so this is crazy. All right, so if the Bitcoin basically held this low, but it's into this monthly extension, and now it's coming down again. This is crazy. So Ethereum is starting to gain against it. Just be aware. Okay, what do we got? Gold's up. Look, we had the sea of red yesterday. Now we have a sea of green. Natty gas is coming down pretty hard right now, right? So I posted, we sold 1/4 of the boil, okay? And now it's cracking, okay, which is fascinating. And I basically got filled on some KOLD this morning on the reclaim of the 55. This is crazy shit going on with natty gas right now. Okay, so we'll see how that plays out. I still have a small position on. Okay, soybeans up, lumber's down, all the way around. The reason why, and I mentioned it, if people think that China's going to invade Taiwan, they sure as hell want to be in US bonds, and they sure as hell want to be in gold. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. What a world we live in. My DBC is still holding up fine. Natty gas is cracking right now, which is crazy. 537. Okay, it's at this double bottom pivot. See what happens with it. If it holds and can curl up, then I'll basically add back in to that. I sold a quarter this morning. So USO, UNG, this is all over the place too. I mean, these are big moves. This volatility, like I said this last year, this is like my Super Bowl. I wait for like every 10, 20 years for something like this to happen in the commodities. We get a kick-ass, crazy-ass price volatility. And you just basically look at the extremes. You buy the drops, sell the pops. Here's gold. This is really the double bottoms in place here, guys. So someone is accumulating gold, and it's not you and me. It's a central bank. In the price action in the 10-year, this is a country, or I don't know what the hell's going on here. When it doesn't make sense, then you know. So we've talked about this. So the miners should catch up to the physical. Same thing with what's going on with crude refiners and stuff. Now let's take a peek. What do we got? All right. Obviously, this is down, right? Small caps is up slightly. I mean, the VIX is up. This is crazy stuff. I don't know what to tell you. Europe's down slightly. China is up slightly. I don't know what to tell you. But like I say, what's going to happen today is I'm probably going to, there's one or two things that can happen. I'll probably increase my yang position is what I'll probably do, just so you know. Okay. Anyways. DAX, fantastic bounce, double bottom here, right on the monthly. Right. FTSE, following the EMA. This was the 100 EMA on the monthly, but is getting pinned below the reversion to the mean, which is a huge red flag for the UK FTSE. FAS rally up. I'm probably going to exit some of my FAS swing that I'm in. I have to, because it's into resistance. EFA into resistance. Okay, so like I say, all of these EFA that I'm in, I got to get out of 3/4 because it's, you know, you buy the drop and you sell the pop. So this is where you have to sell until it actually gets through that. Then I can basically roll up on it. Right. Let's take a look at KWeb. This is why I bought off of the monthly extension. It's bouncing. I mean, like I say, we're up 10% on it, but I don't want to overstay my welcome, I guess is the Reader's Digest version. Here's JD. Looking really bad. Okay. Socks. Holding up fine right now. Fang. Meta. It's actually holding this 2018 low. Like I said, wouldn't it be funny if Meta actually rallies? It's a catch-up trade. Here's Meta against XLC. It's pouncing real high. And that's, well, Google, right? Amazon against Meta. I guess I'm saying that, you know, if any of the things going to rally, it's going to be Apple, Amazon, and Meta, right? At this point. Netflix, I mean, we can't ignore Netflix, right? I wish they'd go back to Facebook. I hate that stupid Meta shit. I think that's you know, that's a failure, right? Google Meta.
All right, Beth, ready to pop on here.
Okay.
Ready, guys, let me just pop up the screen share here. So we'll go over if you guys are new to chat, the pre-market you know, stuff to do if you guys are new, basically going through all the new to chat information. Once we're done, basically the YouTube stream, when we wrap it up, we'll go through that stuff a little bit on. But I'll briefly just talk about it. So guys, if you're new to chat, click the Discord link that's emailed to you, pop in chat, something like this. Go to the new to chat information section, scroll to the top, read from the top down. And like I said, we'll go through that in a little bit. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Pre-market tickers on watch, a couple different things. Tesla, Microsoft, now Snow, Google, SJR. Pretty simple though. Tesla gapping down, typically the market. Now gapping down and said with the markets, no, same thing. Microsoft gapping down on earnings, and so was Google. SGR Canada restricts Rogers' plan to help take over of Shaw when regulatory approval, and we got a little bit of a gap up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, it'd be interesting to take a look at the market as well in a little bit here. But let's kind of rip through these things and see where we're at. Now, before we get going here, just real quick, the SPY at the moment is holding its 50 EMA on the daily. It came down to it and tested it last day in the pre or the after hours. You can see it there. So 50 EMA was around 380.73. You get a retest of that level here. It did hold that level, which is great. Now we're going to see whether or not that's going to hold out this morning. It's going to be a really big support level. So we'll have to pay attention to that. But let's go through these individual names first, and we can do the technical analysis on that stuff. Tesla. So let's take a look here. So a little bit of a gap down with the market. Not much. Held up pretty well. Nice little bounce off the lows yesterday, or the previous double bottom on the daily yesterday. It's a pretty good continuation. Let's see what we got room to today. Alrighty, so we are 222. We're right below EMA support on the daily. 219.14 is going to be the pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold 223.02 to 226.17. Unable to hold, we're looking for a pullback towards 215.71 to the 212.09 level on the downside. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side this morning, looking for a little bit of a pullback. It looks like we're going to get probably an inside day, maybe a little bit of a pullback this morning. And then I think we probably get a little bit of a bounce back to the upside. I don't think you're going to get a full pullback to, fill the last day's move by any means. But I can see us getting a little bit of a pullback this morning and then getting a bounce off of the lower end support levels there and staying within the last day range. Let's take a look at Microsoft. So we had a little bit of a gap down on earnings there. We're at, where are we, 235, okay. So obviously back below the 50 EMA on the daily. So we got room to today. $236.19 pivot to the downside today. Levels unable to hold. They got room for continuation lower to 232.85 to 228.46. Able to hold 237.98 to 242.30. On the upside, it's going to be tested. Overall on Microsoft, going to be leaning bearish, looking for a continuation lower today. I think it's going to be a slow grind to the downside. Probably need to wait about, I would think, 1 or 2 days before we start to see some basing in the name for a little bit of a bounce. It could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment. So I'm going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side there, looking for a grind lower on Microsoft. Let's take a look at also, you're back below, you're back. Oh, this is weird. You're back below EMA support on the daily. Everything broke in that regard, as well as the uptrend on the daily. So, I think that you get continuation fade because of that as well. Let's take a look at now. Let's take a look at Google. We have to be very vigilant on how Microsoft and Google act today, because if they get bought up off the lows, then we're going to continue to see buying off the lows on earnings. We saw it on Snapchat and FedEx, a couple other names that reported bad earnings, and these are obviously mega cap names. That's going to be probably the start of that theme, if it does have that theme this earnings season. So we'll keep an eye on it. But right now I'm leaning bearish. If it obviously they start to get bought up, then I can flip that if the pivot holds. but just an FYI of what my thought process is going to be kind of going forward. Why I think it's so important to keep an eye on them today and what they do. All right, let's take a look at this. No, sorry, this now. That should be good. Uh, 267.40 pivot to the downside today. Levels unable to hold to 357.48, 346.43. Able to hold. We look for pullback or push towards 373.62 to 382.28 on the downside. So pretty decent move on snow. Or sorry, on now. What am I saying? I keep saying snow. Oh, that's right, because I'm going to do snow next. Okay. So pivot to the downside today, 357.48, unable to hold 346.43 to 337.26, able to hold 367.40 to 373.62 on the upside. Overall on this now, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a hold of the pivot, bounce off of that level this morning. All right, let's take a look at snow. Pretty decent gap down as well. This thing's been grinding higher for quite some time. Pretty wide range. Yeah, guys, pivot to the downside today on this snow. It's gonna be 170.56. Levels unable to hold. We got room for continuation lower into the 166.89 spot. That breaks 161.71 will be tested. Able to hold 174.96 to 178.62 on the upside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish side of snow today. I think we do get a little bit more of a pullback this morning to 166.86 range support, but I'm thinking that does hold on daily and we get a nice little bounce off of that level. So we'll be looking for a test of that out of that level of the gate and then see if it holds. And if it does, we can look for a long off of that. It's a strong range support and you do have a lot of EMA support there on the daily. So I think it should stay intact. That is snow. Let's take a look at the next two names, guys, Google and SJR. $98.46 pivot to the upside today on, or downside today, sorry, on Google. Levels unable to hold 96.61 will be tested. If that level breaks, we got room for further continuation lower into the 94.30 level. Able to hold, we look for a push higher into the 138 to 101.90 on the upside. Overall on Google, leaning bearish neutral. I think we can get a pull back to the bottom end of this recent range low, and then we can see whether or not that level holds. So that's what I'll be looking for intraday on that. SJR, let's take a look at this. So a little bit of a curl off the lows. All right, 27.58 pivot to the upside today. Level holds 28.48 to 28.91. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on the name towards 27.09 to 26.73. Going to be leaning bullish, neutral, but looking for a slight pullback this morning, then a flag pattern and a grind higher. I think it looks good for continuation higher. It's just a matter of holding that pivot point for continuation to the upside. So that is Google, and that is SJR. All right, let's take a look at the spine of the fang. All right, guys. So pivot to the upside today, 380.73. And we're going to mark that. Exactly. And that's the 50 EMA on the daily, of course. We can see that right there. Let's change this to that. So 50 EMA, big level, of course. That stays intact. We can continue bounce. They may hold it before Apple and Amazon's earnings. We'll see. But 380.73 pivot levels able to hold 383.85 to 387.02 will be tested. Unable to hold 378.01 to 376.04 will be tested on the downside. If the pivot breaks, I'm pretty sure we're going to go to 378 today. I think it's going to be somewhat of an inside day if, no matter what really happens. I don't think they're going to move the market all too much, but I think we can, trade within last day's range. So watch that pivot. It should give us a pretty good direction this morning. If the pivot holds, aka the 50 EMA on the daily, I would expect a decent bounce back towards last day's highs, and we'll see if they can take that out or not. That's what I'm thinking on the SPY. Maybe a more of an individual trading type day rather than the market, just because they probably will pin it before next 2 days before Apple and Amazon. Let's take a look at Apple and Amazon now. Excuse me. So Apple, guys, what do we got? So pivot to the upside today, 150.96. I was able to hold 153.25 to 154.97. Unable to hold 149.72 to the 148.50 level on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning more on the bullish neutral side today. I don't think this is going to sell off because of Google or Microsoft. I think it can and will stay up before their earnings. Holding the 50 EMA on the daily, still uptrend, still intact. So that's all good stuff. And it is above short-term EMA support. So it didn't really pull back all too much yesterday. It did pull it back, 2 points? That's it. So nothing too major there. Amazon. Amazon 115.26 pivot levels able to hold 119.05 to 122.53. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 112.68 to 109.88 on the downside. Overall on Amazon, going to be leaning more on the bearish neutral side today. I think this name can come in a little bit before earnings. I don't think it's going to be holding as strong as Apple, but of course we would have watched that pivot. Reason for that is obviously rejected off the 50 EMA. We're below the uptrend support right now and short-term EMA support at the moment. So you broke a lot of levels of support to the downside, and because of that, I would be leaning more on the bearish side, which I am leaning bearish on this name today. Let's take a look at Netflix right now. People love the Netflix chart. It's just so nice and strong. 306 all over. All right, 291.07 pivots to the upside today on Netflix. Level holds 297.71 to 306.27. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards the 285.51 to 280.03 on the downside. Leading bullish neutral, looking for a continuation grind higher. Into the gap on the daily, still got room for continuation higher, obviously holding its or pushing off of its strong earnings. And I still think, you know, that 300 level is your magnet and it's got to test it. So we'll see. Holds last day, you know, close price, which is kind of the pivot right now. Should get trade back towards last day's highs and kind of go from there. Let's take a look at Meta. Meta off the lows actually looks pretty damn good. So we had those obviously TikTok rumors the other day. Got a little bit of a push off that. Yesterday it rallied with the market, which is nice. As well, got a really nice bounce back on Snapchat, which I thought was impressive. Pivot to the downside today is going to be 130.05. If that level is able to hold, we got room back towards 135.64 to 137.84. Unable to hold 130.56. Look to pull back towards 120.67 level on the downside. Overall on Meta, probably going to be leaning more on the bullish neutral side, looking for to pretty much hold this pivot and maybe grind a little bit up. And that's going to be it. I don't think you're going to get much range in the name today, but you know, we'll see if I'm wrong or not. If you break, you know, within or outside of last day's range on the market, then obviously we'll be thinking we're getting an outside day across the board. You get a lot more range, but until that happens, I think things will hold up. And I think the fact that the 50 EMA held up yesterday, last night, is a little bit telling. So we did Google already, so we'll take a look at the VIX. Obviously, what do we got? A pull into the 50 EMA on the daily. Uptrend's broken. VIX is a little bit extended to the downside, which does tend to fill those gaps. But they do they don't always need to fill. Meaning you tend to get gap extensions to the downside for longer periods of time on the VIX versus a normal chart. All right. Pivot to the upside today is going to be 218.87. Levels able to be reclaimed. We got room back towards 30.04. Unable to hold 28.06, 27.39. We'll keep an eye on the VIX. Yeah, I mean, 50 EMA on the daily, big level. Actually, this is going to move down. Put this at the 50 EMA, 28.53. 28.53 is the pivot on the VIX, guys. Sorry. There we go. Okay. 28.53 pivot. That level holds room back towards 29.10 to 30.04. Unable to hold 28.06 to 27.39 downside. Not leaning any particular direction on the VIX, guys, but definitely use it for direction on the market. Did see a little bit of divergence yesterday with the market pushing. VIX was pushing back to the upside. That's notable. And yeah, we got to keep an eye on that. QQQs. Let's take a look at this. So obviously we pushed right up into the 50 EMA in that little double top range here yesterday. We do have an uptrend that's still intact, looks like. Yeah, the Qs actually don't look half bad. Tech's all right. Pivot to the upside today. Obviously, last day high 284.56 can be a major level, but pivot will be 277.19. Level holds 282.61 at 284.56 will be tested. Unable to hold 270.73 downside. Not leaning any particular direction on the Qs at the moment. Sorry, no, what am I saying? Going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a hold of that uptrend. I do think it could be tested today, but I guess no, sorry, I'm going to be leaning on the bearish side because that's where it's got room to. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side of the Qs today. So pivots unable to hold. We should see continuation lower. All right, let's take a look at IWM here. One sec. 277.19 is the pivot back on Qs. Just an FYI, switching these around. All right, and last but not least, guys, let's take a look at the IWM. IWM 180.29 pivot levels able to hold 183.01, unable to hold 176.87 to the 174.97 level on the downside will be tested. Overall, going to be leaning bullish. So they're looking for a continuation push higher. Anyways, guys, that's a SPY. That's a thing. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today. Going to go out past over to South Beach while I type up that pre-market action plan. Then we'll go from there. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Hey guys, okay, let's see what we got today. Okay, before we get into that, this market just shows you that taking positions overnight, just be careful, you know what I mean? Like they went out like a house on fire, right? And if you would have been long or you are long, these tech names, you're sucking wind. So be very careful, okay, especially during earnings season to understand overnight risk. It's really important. And if you're long, you understand where I'm coming from. If you're not long, think about how you would feel if you were. And think about, how you should approach it during earnings season and a volatile market like we have now, okay? The point of least resistance, it's really tough to take positions, guys, when the point of least resistance, when you do contra trends. And make no mistake that the trend is still down, okay? So you would have been long, it would have been a really, unpleasant situation. So keep that in mind when you take positions. These positions that you take overnight, basically you're at the mercy of the gods. Just understand that and size accordingly, or don't be in these positions overnight. I mean, my overnight risk exposure on tech, just to give you an example, and I have a decent sized portfolio, is I have an S&P butterfly that I'm going to lose on 90, 95, 400. And I have 300 shares of one of the tech stocks, Freshpet. That's it. Okay. And, because I respect risk and you need to do that. All right. So let's move on to the matters at hand. Okay. You got the 10-year at 406 down 0.05. Okay. Still near the highs, but, having trouble getting through these levels. All right. And the spread widened a little bit on the 210s, right? We're up to about 40. I think yesterday it was around 30, maybe 32. So it's 40 now. And that's that, okay? Rates in London are 365 on their 10-year, down from that 450 was really, you got to take that out of the picture because that was in a period of, let's call it, I don't know what you want to call it, but the volatility was crazy because of political ramifications, etc. I think 365, it's off a little bit. I'm going to say the high should be like 390, so it's off a little bit, but still somewhat elevated. And the 210 spread is flat, but not inverted, okay? Germany rates are up a little bit there, but inconsequentially 0.01. 217 is their yield. So they're balancing, basically inflation and consumer pain, okay, and trying to keep rates low, kind of like Japan, but not in such an obvious way. All right. That's that. That's Japan is staying at a 0.2. Oh, it's at 0.27. That's a big deal. So they broke the 25 area. This is the biggest break I've seen. Oh, that's a misprint. There you go. 0.258. All right. That makes more sense. Okay, and that's the rates. All right, let's move on to commodities. So you have oil up $1. Saudi Arabia oil minister spoke today, basically saying something to the effect that trying to keep oil prices low by using your strategic petroleum reserves is BS. And I think that's part of the reason that they cut production, because the US is trying to keep prices down. The best way to get prices down, guys, is build the pipeline from Canada, have a energy policy, but these guys are too goddamn stupid. Gold, silver, copper. Copper's bottom of a trading range, very quiet on that front. And as far as agricultural commodities, they've been in a real tight trading range as well. There's not really much to say there, okay? You know, basically trading pre-invasion levels for the most part. Just looking over them, so, you know, basically, okay? Currency-wise, okay, so the dollar, I think, has seen its highs. I said that to you guys yesterday. I think the world is trying to make a concerted effort to keep the dollar muted. And that may have some effect on the Fed's aggressiveness in raising rates, okay? Because we're not looking at, funny enough, they're not factoring in pain, whereas the Europeans are factoring in pain on their consumers and keeping rates low. This guy just wants to raise them, but he's killing their currency in the process, so he may have to play ball with these guys. So the dollar's down against North America. Okay, down against the yen, it was at what, 151-ish at the highs or so. Now it's 147, still high, but less high. The dollar's just got smashed against the Chinese currency today. It was what, at 730, now it's at 718. I think the high was like 730-ish. So that's a big move. I mean, in currencies, to see a move that big is really extraordinary, quite frankly. Okay. And how we doing on the euro? The euro is now trading at par with the dollar, okay, and the pound is at 115. So both have risen, you know, off their lows decently, but they're still, you know, in the shit house. Bitcoin, I think we might have seen the bottom in that too, guys, because I think Bitcoin has proven to us that it's really a dollar play. So Bitcoin's up 1%, Ethereum's up 2%. Solana's down a little bit, but 58 cents, so who cares? And that's crypto. And let's look at the foreign markets, okay? FTSE's down 52, which is 0.75%. DAX is dead flat. Nikkei is up 0.5%. China's up 1%. Hong Kong's up 1%. But you remember those two markets have gotten the crap kicked out of them in the recent week or so, okay? So banks and Fed, we're in a quiet period. Fed's going to raise by 75 basis points. It's the verbiage afterwards that's going to be important. I agree, twins. So that's the banks and the Fed. China, you know, this whole thing with this party, you know, they're still talking about it in the news, how everything was, all the rules were rewritten on that, you know, once every 5 decade party Congress or whatever they call it. And, you know, basically Xi is in total control without anybody, you know, thinking about taking a misstep without his say so. So it's, you know, it's become more or less a dictatorship, I guess, because he's got a bunch of yes men surrounding him. So that lockdown, zero COVID policy. Is there any, I was thinking this morning, is there any science behind the zero COVID policy? I mean, all it seems to me is every time you turn around, they're locking down another city. Wuhan, it's this time, and a couple of other places. I mean, I don't really understand the science behind it, if there is science behind it. I understand herd immunity, but since the variant keeps changing, that's not really the case. But no, it's control, not science. I don't get I don't understand that whole place, to be honest, but that's me. Okay, Russia, really no change there. A lot of people are saying they're urging Biden to get involved with Putin and try to end this thing, but I don't think Ukraine wants to give up an inch of ground. Quite frankly, I don't blame them. And since Russia's army is basically a joke, we'll see how it plays out. Okay, as long as the fighting exists, inflation will stay pretty high, in my opinion. Okay, so that's Russia. Oil market we discussed, crypto market we discussed, the dollar, Mr. Market. So Mr. Market was basically a pretty strong day yesterday. Everything was pretty strong. What was semis were leading the league, right? And banks were pretty good, and even some of the high PE tech names were good. And there wasn't real weakness anywhere, to be perfectly frank. Good trading day. Fair amount of volatility, and it was not a lot of drawdown during the day, so that made things kind of pleasant to trade yesterday. Beer sales were down 8%. Heineken's down. Beer sales were slowing in Europe. Heineken's down 8% this morning. I'm going to be looking at some beer stocks here. I don't know. I used to drink beer. I stopped and started drinking wine about 10 years ago. I don't know. I don't see a lot of beer, but whatever. We'll see if it translates to some of our beer stocks. Home buyers. So down 50% year over year on new sales, lowest demand in 25 years. Yeah, I know that's true. Microbrewers are killing it. Down 50% year over year, lowest demand in 25 years. The mortgage, 30-year mortgage has gone from 694 last week to 716 this week. And the refi is down 86% year over year. And they're saying there's only 150,000 families in the US that can benefit from refi at these current rates. So I guess refinancing is a thing of the past for the most part, right? They used to get 150,000 refinances a day. Now they say there's only 150,000 people that can refinance and actually benefit from it. So that's interesting. Boeing took a huge charge based on overage in defense contract and Air Force One, which is surprising. But their free cash flow is good. And the Gal on TV says that's how you measure Boeing. And you see that Alaska put through an order for exercise an option for a boatload of 737 Maxes. I think their business is good. The thing that bothers me most about Boeing is the same old assholes running the company. I don't know why they didn't bring in some fresh blood, because these guys are all part of the problem. And I just don't understand how a board can be so negligent in their duties. I mean, these guys are a clown show. All right. Boeing is basically a monopoly, or if you take Airbus in an oligopoly. And I don't understand how they had the problems they had, but they did. California is trying, they have a vote to raise, ready for this, the top rate, over $2 million, 15.5%. Okay. They had the congressman on CNBC this morning from one of some city in California, and I was listening to him saying, "God forbid I lived in that place. I would run, not walk, out of that state as fast as I could." I mean, it's just a complete giveaway. Tax, 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 spend, 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 and we all know that the worst allocator of capital is the government. We see it in the school system. We see it in the welfare system. We see it every day. Okay, these guys just don't know how to allocate capital, and what they want is more capital so they can misallocate that, which is crazy. Okay, Twitter deal is, the court deadline is Friday, and Musk says he's going to meet it. So that's Twitter. So it's going to be $54.20, I think is the price. I'm just fearful to make $1 on the risk that the government says, hold on a minute. Not worth it to me. So I'm staying out. Did you see Fidelity's hiring 16,000 workers? So they have this zero commission, and everybody says to me, well, how do they make money on zero commissions? Well, they're hiring 16,000 people. So there must be a way. Okay, you don't hire 16,000 people if you're losing money. So that's Fidelity. Hedge funds have been slashing leverage because of the increased volatility. Okay, so let's look at some individual situations. Microsoft. So their main problem was cloud, right? Piece and the PC. All right, we knew the PC sales was slow, right? And cloud, we got a taste of that because Amazon, for the first time, said something about AWS, which is their cloud division, freezing hiring. So we know cloud's crappy. We know the PC is crappy, and we know ad spending is crappy. So be careful, okay? What else can you say? I mean, they definitely pulled their pants down and told you what the reality is. So I can't see how Meta is going to have a good number based on that, but we'll see. Okay. Stifle is saying, Stifle, whatever you call him, oil price, and this their macro analyst. He's really, really good. This guy, his name's Benninger or something like that. Guy's really good. Has been for many years. He says as long as oil prices stay relatively high or trend higher, it's going to be difficult for the S&P to have any meaningful rally. I agree. In fact, when I was in a hedge fund, we did a study. What is the biggest effect on S&P growth and a change in price was oil prices. Okay, David Rosenberg saying a recession is a sure bet because of the Fed's tardiness in taking their foot off the pedal. I agree. Saudi Arabia, I told you what they said. ACI Kroger deal, guys. I think this is maybe a 50-50 deal. So if you're playing that deal, be careful. I would not. I would run away from it. Apple and Target are deepening their ties. And this gal, Grenier, the basketball player, her conviction was upheld. She's got 9 years in prison. I'm sure they'll do some kind of trade, but in the meantime, that vape pen is costing her her life, which is unpleasant. Earnings, let's see what we got, guys. We have Norfolk and Southern was good, okay, up a little bit. Visa was good, we know spending is decent. But interestingly enough, American Express, did they have good numbers? I thought they were crappy. Yeah, I was shorted. So they were crappy, but Visa was good. In Europe, they don't really accept American Express, except at hotels. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But anyway, Visa numbers were good. Another consumer non-durable company beat KHC. So now we have KHC, Coke, Pepsi. So I guess that whole narrative of people trading down on brands is not really taking hold. Ryder had good numbers. Hog did as well. WNC, UHS was good. Another oil stock, WFRD was good. Enphase was good. Really good, actually. Garmin was decent. On the positive news, what else do we have? BBBY has a new CEO, which was the interim CEO. The street doesn't like that. Stock's down. AstraZeneca had positive data, and that's that on the long side. On the short side, we have STX Swift, and they're the subject of a investigation that they basically was selling semiconductors that they're not supposed to be, violating sanctions. Okay, that's STX. Google, we know, right? We discussed that. That's what the ad spending. Then we got Microsoft, which is PC and cloud problems. Okay, we have Mattel, which hasn't missed in forever. Okay, Skechers missed, Spotify missed, Boeing is down, but that one interests me on the long side. Bristol had decent numbers, was down, now it's up again. couple of things. Masco missed. So the question yesterday about Home Depot and Lowe's, this is kind of like an indication of how they'll do, I think, because same end buyer in a lot of cases. So Masco makes me more cautious on Home Depot and Lowe's. Anything else? BSX, Slab. That's Cano, what's his name? Lowered his stake. Tonight, remember, we have Meta. That's important. Clack and Now. Tomorrow, Merck, MA, McDonald's and Cat, and Shop. And that's about it, you know. Market's holding in better than I would have thought. And let's have a good day, guys. It's all yours, Spartan.
Alrighty, thank you, South Beach guys. Morning, what's going on? So if you guys are new to chat and have already done so, make sure to click on that Discord link that's emailed to you. Pop into chat. It's going to look something like this. First area to go to, guys, when you do come in is this new to chat information section. Scroll to the very top, read from the top down. We'll go through that stuff when I close down the YouTube stream in a little bit. Pre-market tickers on watch, guys. What do we got going on today? A couple different things. So what are we looking at? Tesla, Microsoft, Now, Snow, Google, and SJR. So a lot of things gapping down to see with the market or on earnings here. So first couple names that we're looking at, Tesla gapping down to see with the market. So is Now and Snow. Microsoft gapping down on earnings, Google gapping down on earnings. Then SJR, update one, Canada restricts Rogers' plan to help take over Shell regulatory approval, and stocks gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two we're looking at today, guys, are going to be Tesla and that Microsoft. So let's have a gander at these two names. So Tesla at 219.14 pivot to the upside today. Level holds 223.02 to 226.17 will be tested. Unable to hold 215.71 to 212.09 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today, if that pivot point's able to hold. Let's take a look at Microsoft here. Microsoft pivot to the downside is going to be the 236.19 spot. Levels unable to hold 232.85 to 228.46. Able to hold 237.98 to 242.30 on the upside. Overall, Microsoft leaning bearish, neutral, looking for a continuation lower. And on Tesla, guys, looking for a pull into the support, then a bounce off of it this morning. So not fully bearish, just within that range, I guess, OPGate. Now in Snow, let's take a look at those two names. Now, guys, pivot to the downside is going to be the 357.48 levels unable to hold, 346.43 to 337.26. Able to hold 367.40 to 373.62 on the upside. Overall, I'm now going to be leaning bearish. If that pivot's unable to hold, looking for continuation lower. Let's take a look at that. Snow pivot to the upside today, 170.56 levels able to hold 174.96 to 178.62. Unable to hold 168.89 to 161.71 on the downside. Overall on Snow, going to be leaning bullish, neutral as well, looking for a pivot hold or lower end range hold and a bounce off of that level today. Let's take a look at Google. Let's take a look at SJR. So Google, guys, pivot to the downside today is going to be 98.46 levels unable to hold, 96.61 to 94.30. Able to hold 138 to 101.90 on the upside. Overall on Google, going to be leaning bearish, neutral, looking for a continuation lower. SJR 27.58. That level holds 28.48 to 28.91. Unable to hold 27.09 to 26.73 on the downside. Overall on SJR, going to be leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Let's take a look at the spine of the FANG. Market 380.73 pivot level holds. I'm going to type this out as I usually do. So SPY 380.73 pivot to the upside today. This level holds from higher into the 383.85 resistance. Breaks. You see the 387.02 tested. Pivot unable to hold. From lower into the 378.01 support. Breaks. You see the 376.04 tested. Leaning on the bullish neutral side of the market today. So looking for a hold of that 50 EMA and a bounce off of it. We'll see if it's able to hold. I could be wrong and could fail this morning. If it does, then we're going to retest 378 on the downside. So that's what will be what if it does break. Let's take a look at the rest of the SPY and the FANG here, guys. Just one sec, I gotta post one thing. Just goes there. Post this here. Okay, SPY and the FANG, or so the rest of the FANG, sorry. So let's take a look at Apple here. So Apple holding its range right now, 150.86 pivot levels, able to hold 153.25 to 154.97 will be tested, unable to hold 149.72 to 148.80 on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to hold. So that is Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. Pivot to the downside today. 115.26 levels, able to hold 112.68 to 109.88 will be tested, able to hold 119.05 to 122.53 on the upside. Overall on Amazon, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for continuation lower if that pivot's unable to hold. Let's take a look at Netflix. Pivot to the downside today, or upside I should say. 291.07 level holds, 297.71 to 306.27, unable to hold 285.51 to 280.03 on the downside. Overall, Netflix leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Let's take a look at Meta. 130.56 pivot levels able to hold. You have room for continuation higher into the, where's the next level? 135.64 to 137.84. Unable to hold 125.67. And on Meta, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side as well. I think it's going to hold the range before earnings. We already talked about Google, so let's do the VIX, Qs, and IWM. VIX guys, pivot to the downside today, 28.53 levels, unable to hold 28.06, 27.39, able to hold 29.10, 30.04 on the upside, and going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side there. Or so not leaning any direction, but obviously if pivot can't hold it, you would think it would sell off. QQQs, pivot to the upside today, downside I should say. 277.19, unable to hold 270.73, able to hold 282.61 to 284.56, leaning bearish, but that pivot would need to break and confirm. So if that breaks, confirms, you go back to the uptrend. If not, then it's probably just going to hold this range. IWM, last but not least, my friends, 180.30 pivot levels able to be reclaimed. We got room for continuation into 183, unable to hold 176.87 to 174.97 on the downside, leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Overall on IWM, going to be leaning, like I said, bullish neutral. All right, guys, so that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today. We'll see what happens. Should be a pretty interesting day. Biggest thing is going to be watching the market 50 MA. Keep an eye on that. Watch the tech names as well and see how they react with the gauge, if they hold up or not. We've seen buying on dip so far this earnings season. We'll see if that continues to happen. If not on the mega caps, then that theme is probably gone. That's it, guys. I'm going to go ahead, we're going to go ahead and close down that YouTube stream. If you guys have any questions, you go to spartantrading.com. You stream every single day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And yeah, that's it, guys.